With that, we will move on to item number 1, the report of the Chief of Police. Chief McDonald.
Morning, President Suthers, Vice President Shields, Commissioners, Acting Inspector General Yu, and City Attorney Deleguera, as well as Mr. Sibley. Good to be here with you all today. Today, I'll be discussing significant events from the previous week, providing a crime update, and discussing our personnel strength. On November 22nd, about 13:59 hours, Northeast Division uniformed patrol officers responded to a radio call of a male with mental illness experiencing suicidal ideations and armed with a handgun in front of 5007 North La Rota Avenue. Upon arrival, the officers observed the subject, later identified as Carlos Casillas, on the front porch of the residence. Officers remained next to their police vehicles and attempted to communicate with Casillas, who then produced a handgun. Casillas then discharged his handgun, resulting in an officer-involved shooting. Following this, Casillas moved out of the officer's line of sight, and additional resources were requested to the area. Shortly thereafter, Casillas reemerged to the front of the residence, but refused to comply with orders to surrender. With the assistance of Metropolitan Division K-9, and after a K-9 contact, Casillas was ultimately taken into custody. During the detention, it was discovered Casillas had sustained gunshot wounds to his upper torso as a result of the OIS. Casillas was immediately transported to a local hospital where he was treated for his wounds and listed in stable condition. No officers or community members were injured during the incident. A 9mm semi-auto handgun and empty magazine were located near the front porch of the residence, and 4 discharged 9mm cartridge casings were located within the officer-involved shooting crime scene. The firearm, magazine, and cartridge casings were booked into evidence. Force Investigation Division responded to the scene and are investigating the incident. Year to date, we've had 25 officer-involved shootings, and comparing that to this time last year, we had 31, for an increase of 19.4%. We had a vehicle pursuit resulting in a fatality on November 23rd. About 13:30 hours, uniformed patrol officers from West Valley were monitoring a stolen vehicle that was reported stolen from Simi Valley. While monitoring the vehicle, a male and a female entered the vehicle and drove away from the location. Officers began to broadcast that they were following a stolen vehicle and requested additional resources. During the following, the vehicle pulled to the curb and the female passenger exited the vehicle. The vehicle then accelerated away from the officers, and a vehicle pursuit was initiated. A suspect vehicle traveled southbound on Mason Ave and collided with the right side of a Tesla that was traveling westbound on Sataquoy Street. The force of the collision caused the Tesla to spin, striking an eastbound vehicle on Sataquoy. The suspect vehicle continued southbound, ultimately colliding with another vehicle traveling eastbound before overturning. Tragically, the driver of the Tesla sustained traumatic injuries and was pronounced deceased at the scene. All other involved parties suffered minor injuries and were transported to local hospitals for treatment. The suspect was taken into custody and subsequently arrested for 187 PC homicide. He was booked into jail. The Multidisciplinary Collision Investigation Team, or MCIT, responded to the scene and is leading the investigation into the incident. We had an officer injured, a motorcycle officer, on November 21st at approximately 1700 hours. A West Traffic Division motor officer was involved in the collision while traveling northbound on the 405 freeway. The officer was lane splitting between the carpool lane and the number 1 lane of traffic when a vehicle in the carpool lane attempted to change lanes into the number 1. During the lane change, the vehicle collided with the motor officer, causing the officer to strike the rear of a secondary vehicle traveling in the number 1 lane. The impact ejected the officer from the motorcycle, causing him to land on the roadway. Emergency personnel responded, and the officer was transported to UCLA Medical Center for treatment. Thankfully, he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries and was later released. He's expected to make a full recovery. Some good news on Saturday, November 23rd. I, along with Commissioner Calanche, had the honor of attending the graduation ceremony for the August 2024 cadet class. This event was a reminder of the positive impact the LAPD cadet program has on our youth and our communities. The graduating cadets aged between 13 and 17 have demonstrated incredible commitment to leadership, academic excellence, ethical decision-making, and community service over the course of their training. The ceremony highlighted not only their hard work, but also the vital program role the program plays in guiding young people toward brighter futures. It was great to see their families, friends, and mentors come together in celebration, reinforcing the strong bonds between the department and the community. These cadets represent the next generation of leaders, and it was a privilege to be able to help celebrate their achievements. This next one is a very commendable incident here that I'll share. On November 6th at 9 o'clock p.m., 2100 hours, officers from Northeast Patrol Division responded to a call regarding a suicide attempt at the Avenue 60 bridge over the LA River. The subject, a 17-year-old suffering from autism and PTSD, had taken 30 sleeping pills and was perched on the bridge's ledge 60 feet above the dry riverbed. As the officers arrived, the suspect climbed onto the outside of the ledge, standing precariously on small footholds while his mother looked on. The officers quickly acted, grabbing the suspect or the subject as he began to dangle from the bridge. Despite the subject resisting and punching them, the officers held on. A citizen passing by saw what was occurring and immediately went to assist the officers. With the assistance of the bystander, they managed to be able to pull the subject to safety. He was transported to the hospital and placed on a mental evaluation hold, but just want to commend the officers for their quick thinking and courage, as well as the importance of community support in crisis situations. This citizen who jumped in and offered his help to the officers probably made the difference between a tragedy and hopefully this individual getting the help he needs now. We also have a missing person case that has gotten a lot of attention locally and nationally. On Friday, November 8th, 23-year-old Hana Kobayashi missed her connecting flight from LAX to New York, which the investigation determined was intentional. Over the next few days, she maintained contact with her family and was active on Instagram. However, the family last heard from Hana on November 11th. After receiving concerning text messages and losing further contact, her family traveled to LA on November 13th and filed a missing person report. On November 15th, our missing persons unit assumed investigative responsibility. Detectives have been diligently reviewing video surveillance and employing various investigative techniques to locate Hana, while her family has continued their personal search efforts. Tragically, on November 24th, during the search for his daughter, Hana's father, Ryan Kobayashi, was found deceased. Preliminary findings indicate his death was by suicide. Our hearts go out to the Kobayashi family during this unimaginable time of grief. We remain fully committed to locating Hana and supporting the family as they navigate their way through this tragedy. We had a robbery series. Some good arrests were made in November. We identified a concerning robbery series targeting Chase banks, restaurants, CVS stores, and pizza parlors across the Mission, West Valley, and Devonshire areas. To date, 9 robberies were attributed to this series. Robbery Homicide Division led the investigation. Detectives identified the suspect, Eric Acosta, through his vehicle, a 2017 Land Rover, which was linked to multiple crime scenes. On November 19th, the coordinated efforts by our detectives from RHD, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations, and the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force led to Acosta's arrest in Van Nuys Division. His vehicle was also recovered and impounded. Acosta's criminal history is extensive and includes 6 felony convictions. Notably, Acosta served a 16-year state prison sentence for robbery and was recently released from CDCR in September of this year. Just 2 months later, his alleged crime spree began. I want to thank our dedicated investigators and partner agencies for their efforts in apprehending this career criminal. Their collaboration and commitment have played a vital role in ensuring the safety and well-being of our community. Over the past week, a series of 4 street robberies occurred in Southeast, Southwest, and Olympic areas, all sharing a similar suspect description and method of operation. The suspect in this series was identified by detectives as Dominic Bowden. In each case, Bowden approached women on the street and made an agreement for sexual acts. Once inside his vehicle, he produced a handgun, using it to either strike the victims or threaten them, ultimately robbing them of cash and personal property. On November 25th, Southwest Vice officers successfully located and took Bowden into custody without further incident. Once again, dedication and commitment of our officers to protecting the community led to the apprehension of this dangerous person, ensuring that he's no longer a threat to the public. Crime overall for the week ending November 24th, we've seen a notable decrease in both persons and property crimes across the city, reflecting the ongoing effort of our officers to create safer neighborhoods. Specifically, combined persons and property crimes have dropped 12.3% over the past 4 weeks, with a reduction of 1,205 offenses compared to the previous period. The trend in homicide has been steadily decreasing since March of this year, with 259 homicides reported citywide through November 23rd. That's a 13.7% decrease compared to the same time last year, and a more substantial drop of 27.9% compared to 2022. Notably, gang-related homicides have seen a significant reduction. 92 of this year's homicides, or 35.6%, are gang-related, down from 143 in 2023, which was 47%, and 195 in 2022, 54%. This reduction highlights the success of our targeted interventions and community partnerships. The number of victims shot has also shown a positive trend, with a decrease of 18.2% compared to 2023 and a 25.3% compared to 2022. While there were no changes in the number of victims shot over the past 4 weeks, certain areas have seen notable increases. Specifically, Newton saw a 175% increase, which was 7 additional victims. In Southeast, a 50% increase, or 4 victims. We're committed to addressing these spikes through continued outreach and crime prevention efforts. Aggravated assaults have decreased by 7.2% in the last 4 weeks. However, there were areas that have experienced also significant increases, being Northeast Hollywood and North Hollywood. Saw increases in ag assaults ranging from just under 12% to 46%. These areas will be prioritized for further investigation and community engagement to address these incidents. While robberies have increased slightly, just 0.1%, there are areas that have experienced more significant rises. Wilshire, for example, saw an 80% increase in robbery from 20 the previous 4-week period to 34. Central area also saw a almost 24% increase from 51 to 63. A concerning trend in robberies is the increased use of firearms, with 23% of all robberies involving a firearm. We're closely monitoring these trends and ensuring resources are in place to prevent further escalation. The good news continues, with burglaries down 10.4% over the last 4 weeks. Both commercial burglaries and residential burglaries have seen reductions of 16% and 6.7%, respectively. The decrease is a testament, again, to our crime prevention strategies and the vigilance of the community working along with us. Motor vehicle thefts have dropped by 12% in the last 4 weeks. However, we continue to see areas of concern, particularly in Devonshire, 77th Wilshire, where thefts have increased slightly. The trend in stolen vehicle continues to show Kia, Hyundai, and Chevrolet vehicles are among the top targets. We remain focused on addressing this issue with enhanced patrol and community awareness initiatives, and working with the vehicle manufacturers to install new software updates to target these vehicles to prevent the thefts that have been highly publicized on social media. Finally, our personnel strength as of November 25th is 8,786 sworn personnel, and our civilian personnel staffing is 2,627. We have 380 reserve officers. Thank you for the opportunity. That concludes my report today, Mr. President.
We'll now move on to item number 2 on the agenda, public comment period. Madam Secretary, please call the first speaker.
The first speaker is Hassan Tran.
Good morning, Los Angeles Police Department and Police Chief and everybody. Today, November 26, 2024, my message very seriously sending to elect President Mr. Donald Trump and all police department all around USA and all police officers and all U.S. military, and all USA veterans, and all FBI, and all law enforcement, and all CIA. Every day you going to work for U.S. government, very important. I want please all of you, remember my name is Hassan Tran. I love all of you. And I want all of you love me too. Then all of you will doing better job for U.S. government to protect all American people and all millionaire and all billionaire people. We all right and safe. Please help me give this information to all American people and all human rights all around the world. Will be changed better for all of us. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Chief Manuelito.
Really, F-bomb guy? Chief Manuelito?
How, motherfucker?
Watch your
How do
ears.
we explain this foundations of donations without a total tally of what monies is flowing lucratively into the business of the police department? You know, as the gentleman pointed out earlier, God bless Donald Trump, he's right. We're seeing the immediate effect of reform in government, and that's what we need. We need to shake, stir up, and prevent this injustice of humanity to force me, a simple man with a simple plan, not to hear the bullshit from the pro temp who says her oil refinery friends are okay in her donations. Well, she needs to remember that Brentwood and that house of Brentwood, California, that Steve Soberoff had a lot. Troubling effects to that. And David O. Carter pointed it out. Stop the fucking stealing. That's what part of the report of the chief was. I got nothing against JP McDonald. I voted for him back then when that little scumbag criminal he was running against got into office and then kissed the ass of all those 4 or 5 elected officials in the board of supervisors who put a proton.me harassment against me. You know, it's crazy how people in government can use their tools or their strategies that are ineffective to stop me in my First Amendment 42 U.S.C. 1983. And under the color of all 18 and 18, 242 and 245, and protected by Bain Act 52.1, to put on the record, you dirty, stop the corruption. Stop the allegations of falsifying reports. And by the way, who the fuck puts a 13-year-old child in the arms of pedophiles like the cadet program where you fuck children?
Right.
You fuck children in a cadet program and you still got it going. I want some women oversight in that, or maybe some LGBT queer like Herman for the record, and his woof, 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 woof security dog to stop this fucking madness. Men and women, stop fucking children. For God's sake, save America.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Amy's iPhone.
Hi, I'll speak on all items and the public
minutes.
comment. Okay. Firstly, I'm concerned with the money you're receiving. There's no transparency as to the contributions you're getting. I'm thinking that you must be getting something through your foundations, through the Scientology organization that's located on L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's obvious because something's going on where you have them on your CPABs and they are pushing influence on you. Especially when we saw the 2 girls that escaped, the Godinez girls. They were trying to escape but they didn't have the verbalization skills in the Northeast Division to say what was actually going on. This is a terrible child trafficking cult. They espouse to say that they are against and working with other organizations to fight against trafficking, as they invited Pam Bondi, the supposed elected, or the president-elect has us wanting her to be on his Department of Justice as the Attorney General. They do the opposite, because people have escaped this cult and have been telling their stories, and no one's believing it. It's just like, would you not believe a person that escaped the Holocaust and is giving testimonials on the U.S. Shoah project done by Steven Spielberg? There were two people that escaped in April of 1944, Rudolf Verba and Alfred Wetzler. They went and they escaped their atrocities, and they gave testimony to Hungary, which they were then able to stop the deportations. And but unfortunately, something happened where that didn't happen. The Jews were still deported from Hungary. But the fact is that you didn't believe these girls, or you didn't do anything. You didn't follow your protocol. Something's going on in your division that you're not saving these children. You might as well have had the sign that was above Auschwitz when you went and you gave the girls back to their father. The sign was Arbeit macht frei, which means work makes free. But the problem is that you didn't believe the girls. You didn't follow your protocol. You might as well have been returning them back to a concentration camp. Now, when are you going to have your Valkyrie moment, all of you, how can you look at yourself in the mirror knowing what you've done to children? And lastly, I want you to continue to not dismiss the Hana Kobayashi case. Trust the family. They came to look for her, and don't dismiss it that she voluntarily went missing. I yield back my time.
Next, we have Mona M.
Good afternoon. All items, please.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Welcome to the new chief. Jim Jones, Weinstein, P. Daddy, Danny Masterson. All the victims came to you. You didn't listen. I've been trying to warn you about abuses happening to children for over 6 months now. Others have been here too. There's one being fair gamed right now, evidenced manufactured to make it look like he is calling in swattings to himself, because he has been brave enough to speak the truth about Scientology. Scientology is like the priest, wearing beautiful robes, giving blessings to his congregation, having Christmas pageants, Christmas parades, but behind closed doors, violating children. Scientology has, is, and will continue to violate children until you stop it. The words, "please do something before it's too late," is too late. You don't need to have a SWAT team kick down the doors to catch them in the act. The evidence of people with injuries is abound. We have a list of over 200 of those folks. Scientology abuses children, families, and is like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Janet Wieland, I'm going to name names, needs to be removed from any CPAB board until further notice. Remember what every Scientologist is told every time they do a session. This is a quote. "While we cannot guarantee you that matters revealed in this list will be held forever secret, we can promise you faithfully that no part of it nor any answer you make here will be given to the police. No Scientologist will ever bear witness against you in court. I also offer services to add curriculum to your training for recruits and continuing education for all of LAPD. Let's work together to keep our children safe. I would ask for contact information to talk with the chief personally. Thank you. Kids cannot consent." I yield back my time.
Next, we have Audit LA.
You're practically worthless. The last 10 chiefs are practically worthless. And the sheriff.
Good morning. I want to ditto everything that Mona and Amy said. And I want to say this, I thank the officers and the community that came together to save that young man from suicide. I'm grateful. But I also want to reiterate that there were 2 girls, and I've come to this committee in person and the commission in person to talk about these 2 girls, and you did take the report about it because we want a wellness check. but the community came together for them. But I believe the police failed them, and then the community, because they turned out to be anti-Scientology protesters, were turned into the bad guys. We're the bad guys because we care about these children. I also want to say that I've also come and complained about how Hollywood Division and Northeast Division are in complete a marriage to the cult of Scientology. This new Hollywood initiative in Hollywood, which it's LAPD with the cult of Scientology. Even though we have provided so much evidence of collusion and an improper relationship between LAPD and especially Hollywood Division and the cult of Scientology, it should not be allowed to continue, especially with all, like Mona was saying, there's hundreds of people who have survived and have come forward who are not being listened to. There's people who have had help signs inside, there's just, and not only that, they are also breaking the laws with all these illegal planters and all these other abuses just on a city level. In city government, they've been told to remove stuff, and they double down and plant, like with all these planters that they've been ordered to remove, they put poinsettias in them. And this is what and then they said, and then they have Northeast Division, 6 officers, 5, well, I think it was 5 officers in 3 cars come and enforce the red zone to get rid of one of the protesters, who is parked there. Okay, like, since when does LAPD enforce parking zones? I could see if there was something going on, a parade and somebody's parked there, but no, this was just Scientology didn't want this protester there. And it was funny because it was just minutes after I had spoken to DOT claiming that it's a fake, that they basically probably painted the red zone, or it was fake because there's no proof that it's a real red zone, on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And then all of a sudden, all these officers come to remove him. It's just, they're at the beck and call. It needs to stop. It's these two, it just needs to stop. And as far as the money, I said before, I want you to get donations. It relieves the taxpayers, but there needs to be transparency. Absolutely. You have to let us know who's donating the money through the foundation. It's not fair because it can create this kind of.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Mirjam.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes. What items would you like to speak on?
All?
Okay, 3 minutes.
Yes. I would like to draw your attention on the professional scale human trafficking operation, which is run by the Church of Scientology. In 2015, my friend was trafficked from Denmark to Los Angeles to the Big Blue Scientology building on L. Ron Hubbard Way. He arrived on a short-term visa, followed with a paper from cult explaining he was to be a short-term religious volunteer. In reality, there was never no intention to ever let him return to Denmark. He soon realized that he was risking of becoming an illegal immigrant in USA. After begging daily for 2 months to be sent back to Denmark, the cult finally gave in and returned him back. As a punishment, upon his return, he was performing forced hard physical labor, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for several months. And he was lucky, as many of his friends who went with a temporary visa have never returned back from the US and are currently doing their 1 billion a year tenure for cult of Scientology as illegal immigrants. Please look into the human trafficking crimes of this cult. Thank you.